Hey, Jeff, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You bet. Well, like we were just talking about, it was so fun being out at your facility the other day and learning about the scrap metal business and getting to see your operation in action.
Yes, it's a interesting business, a lot going on, and so we were glad you got to come out and see it.
Well, and it seems like there's a lot going on, but it's very organized.
Yes, that is one thing that helps. We are only open for industrial business, so we're not open to the public, so we don't have a lot of vehicle traffic coming in. So we're able to keep the yard very organized, and trucks can get in and out very quickly, which is good for the drivers and good for us.
And I'm sure your customers appreciate that you are tailoring to the industrial needs and able to give that customer service from that operational level of focusing on what they have and how you can better serve them.
Yes, that was really our main focus when we started the company was really just to focus on servicing industrial customers and whatever their needs were to be able to meet those quickly and efficiently. And so we've really tried to tailor the business to that, and it's worked out very well. We have a lot of situations where the dispatching we are able to do that remotely. We're able to monitor boxes
Well, and I think you were telling me
remotely.
you have GPS monitors inside all of your roll-off containers?
We do, yes. So all of our boxes have a GPS and also a camera inside, so they're able to take pictures of what's in the container a couple times throughout the day, and then we're able to monitor that to plan for service ahead of time rather than kind of being proactive. We're able to be a little proactive instead of reactive on
Right.
that. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and that's beneficial too, because you can see what's being put in the containers and when they're ready to be serviced. And you're not having to wait for your customer to tell you. You're kind of staying on top of that. But like you said, it can be monitored remotely.
correct. Yes, and it keeps the boxes. A lot of these boxes can get very heavy quickly, and so we're able to kind of monitor how full they're getting, pre-plan to avoid those boxes getting heavy and having to have the customer either unload them or risk, being overweight, getting tickets. So
Oh, that's a lot of extra work and potential extra liability.
yes, it is. It is. Yeah, it's not easy to get in those boxes and offload them. So
No, absolutely not. I can imagine because all that metal, I mean, there's all kinds of scrap in there, and so just trying to keep it efficiently uh, packaged
right,
and from having all of that extra uh, potential, like I said, liability or problems that could arise.
correct. Yes, the drivers really appreciate it too because it saves them a lot of times from having to go out and kind of manhandle that scrap themselves to get it into the container, to be from over height or something like that. And
Right.
so they're able to get in there and service that box, get it in, get it out, and move forward. So
No, that's
yeah,
great. Yeah, it's definitely a service that's needed, especially in the oil field.
yes, it is.
Now,
There.
is this where you started? Was it in the oil and gas industry?
So I actually started just in the recycling business, but out here in West Texas, which of course is servicing oil and gas. That's the main supplier. And so have always I was born and raised here, so have always kind of had a tie into the Midland Odessa area.
Okay.
So
So how did you transition from recycling just into scrap? Was it an organic progression that just happened naturally?
it was just started into the business and was kind of fortunate enough to just to be able to float from department to department and kind of just see the business as a whole. Had some really good mentors and trainers and managers along the way. And it's one of those industries where once it gets in your blood, if you like it, and if you don't like it,
Right.
And so it's just something that stuck with me, and then have just kind of grown with it over the years. So
Well, and I could see, especially after seeing your operation, how it would progress because there's so much that goes into it, the different types of metal, how it's processed, and the shipping. I mean, that was something I thought was really cool, how you guys are right there on the train track. So talk a little bit about how that works when you ship it down to Houston.
yeah, so in this market with Odessa kind of being a remote area away from the steel mills, you have to be able to ship by rail. And so that's kind of a key component to be able to be competitive and to service your customers correctly and be able to pay them correctly. Because the freight to get out of here by an end dump is so expensive that
Mm.
you eat away a lot of the profits. And so Uh, able to access rail and ship by rail really enables us to be competitive and offer our customers a full service and better pricing.
Yeah, and that is that how why you picked the location that you're at now?
It is, yeah, and we want it to be centered between Midland and Odessa. That's where the big portion of our customer base is in this area, and so our trucks are able to get service a lot more boxes per day than we would if we were kind of remote. So
So once again, kind of going back to the efficiency and the organization of it, for it to be profitable and to continue to grow, you need to make sure that you're in the right location where it's accessible and also have access to the rail.
yes, yeah, those are both key components. So fortunately, we were able to find this property and it's worked out really well.
I
So
bet that made a big difference.
it did. It made a really big difference. So we looked and looked for 2 years trying to find the right spot, and fortunately, we were able to find this one.
When you have the right spot, you have the right equipment, and you also have the right employees.
Yes, we've been very fortunate. So over the years, built relationships with just employees that we've worked with or they've worked with other companies. And we're able to, when we started Horizon Metals, we're able to really dial in and pull on those relationships to staff our business with key quality people, and they do a great job. I mean, it's we have a lot of fun and we get a lot done, but everybody's focus is making sure we take care of the customers, and they get that. And so there's not a lot of having to teach that. We've got guys that have grown up with that mentality, and so it really
Well,
helps
and
out.
they've been in the business for a long time.
Yes, they have.
So they know what they're doing, they know what needs to be done and the process of it all. So they're really
Correct.
helpful in the success of the business.
They are. They're the key to it. We do a lot of remote work on site, asset disposals or kind of demolition or on site processing. And so we can just turn them loose. They know what to do, how to do it safely. They're great with the customers. The customers really like working with them. And so it really helps kind of build on what we're providing.
And with the services that you provide, like you've got the scrap metal, the roll-off containers. Now, the way that that works is there's no charge for your roll-off containers. You'll put them on your customer's location. They fill it up and then bring it to you, or you have drivers that go get them.
Correct. That's correct. So we'll send the driver back out to get them after they filled it up, and then we pay them back for whatever metal weight of metal is in the container.
So that's a
So
pretty good deal. I mean, they're not paying for the container and then you're not charging for that transportation.
correct. Yeah, so all they see, they don't see an invoice for anything. All they see is a check back with the proceeds for whatever they put into the container. So
Wow, that's nice. So
yes,
it really helps their bottom line because there's quite a bit of profit in the scrap metal business if you do it correctly, if you know how to process it and keep up with it. So
correct.
they're just throwing the different types of scrap metal in the bin. They're not having to think about what it is or separate it.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So we'll get it back to our yard and we'll separate it if it needs to be or be able to classify. But because we can process pretty efficiently, uh, we're able to pass those savings along to the customer. So it
Yeah,
works out
that's
pretty well.
yeah, that's exciting. And well, and you don't just service your customers here. I mean, this is nationwide.
It is. So we pretty much go into all the major districts. Wherever a customer has a need, will provide boxes in that area. We do partner with some third party companies, but really across all of the U.S. and Canada, we've really kind of dialed in and shown to be providing value to the customer. So that's really our focus, and you know we know that business pretty well, and so we're able to help leverage pricing in areas maybe where we don't have a yard, but we partner with the third party to push the price up to pay our customer better.
Yeah, well that's great. That's also really convenient for your customer
Yes.
that you're not just in the Permian and nationwide and like you said into Canada. How long have you been servicing up there?
So that's really been within the last 6 months,
Okay, so that's
really
kind of a
expanding
need
in there.
actually.
It is, yes. So we're always looking for opportunities and areas where we can help, and so that's become one of them that we're seeing pretty good opportunity there.
Is it competitive up there in the scrap metal business, or is this an opportunity for you to be able to to kinda tap in and provide this level of service.
Right. It is competitive, but none of the companies that kind of we've seen up there really provide that. That GPS and camera system really play a big role in us being able to provide the best service. Just because we're being able to be proactive with all of that, and so especially in Canada where you get a lot of remote locations, spread out into the oil field areas, it really helps them not have to worry about it. And so they know that the box is there and that it's going to get swapped. And so we really just try to focus on that. And it's a strength that we have. And we really try to make out for all it's worth.
Yeah, absolutely, and with the GPS and the camera system, that how when did that come into play?
So that's been around since we started, actually. So it's been 5 or 6 years. We started it right away. We had used that technology at a previous company or tested it at a previous company. We never really fully implemented it, but with us being doing so much remotely, it's key to our business to have that. And
Right.
so it also enables you to track where that box has been. You can go back like a year, 2 years, however long you need to. You can also track pictures back. So if a customer is ever wondering, hey, did something get thrown into a box that shouldn't have? We can at least try to go back and look through those pictures to help them identify if there was a asset that got disposed of that shouldn't have.
Oh, yeah, that is very helpful.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, in every way. I mean, with them being all over the country and, like you said, into Canada now, being able to see what's going on from a remote location, that's, uh, that's very I can imagine that's very helpful.
Yes, it's also helpful at a corporate level and also a district level because if we have boxes at each district, kind of around the country, they also only have one person they can call to get any information they need on boxes, swaps, values, checks, all of that. And so they're able to log into our online portal. They can track every shipment, every payment, but also any questions they have of, did we service a box or did this get done? They just have one point of contact rather than trying to find 15 companies around the country to call each one individually to find out what's happening. So
Right. Well, I can appreciate that, the efficiency and that level of communication. I could see how that would set you apart because in oil and gas, there's a lot of drops in communication because we're in remote locations and spread out all over the place. But with GPS and the new technology that we have now, it's making it a lot easier to stay on top of what's going on in the field, where's the service at, and just being able to continue building the conversation with your customers.
correct. Yes, yeah, and they have uh, the feedback we get from them is that's really valuable. It's taken a lot of time and effort and work on their part to have to monitor these boxes because scrap's not their business. They're out trying to produce, and so many different crews are coming in to fill the box that they're not necessarily watching it all the time. So us being able to kind of monitor that remotely has proven to be a good benefit for the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to the different companies and the scrap that they have, like what's the most common form of scrap metal in oil and gas that you see?
So it's really a mix. You get a lot of just general mixed scrap that people are producing off their production sites. But when it gets to the asset side, a lot of fluid ends, power ends, drill pipe, any kind of pipe or tubing, casing.
And what kind of companies use that kind of?
So all the frac companies are producing fluid ends and power ends and general scrap, and then any drilling company is going to have the drill pipe.
Okay.
So we really try to help them and monitor that. And with that, we were moving so many loads by flatbed remote that we were having to use 3 and 4 trucking brokers to kind of handle those. And so with that became a big headache. And so we were able to kind of bring that in house and started our own freight brokerage side. And so they're able to really execute when a customer calls and says, "Hey, I need 10 loads." We're able to find them 10 trucks pretty quick, get them picked up and moved off, which helps them too to be able to move on to their next project. So
Right. But again, with being efficient and kind of being proactive, seeing where it was taking more time to round up all the different brokers to get the trucks, but with you having your own in-house freight brokerage,
Right.
then now you can stay ahead of it.
Correct. Yes, and it helps us give good communication to the customer of ETAs on trucks and when they will be there and what's going on, and so it's really helped a lot in, really just tracking and planning, so
Would you say there's a lot of scrap in the oil field, or are you seeing things come in that could be repurposed, or is it just kinda like what's left over from the project, or some of this, like, goes out of service, it can't be used anymore?
yeah, it's kinda all the above, and then, of course, with a lot of assets, they need, certificates of destruction, it needs to be cut up, and so we provide those as well. We'll track every asset number, to the ticket, and also provide a certificate of destruction so they know it's being destroyed and not getting back out into the market.
Oh, right. Yeah, because there's also liability with that as well for them.
Correct, that's right. Yeah, there's a lot of parts that maybe could be repaired, but shouldn't be repaired, and so we really focus, on making sure that everything is cut up.
So you can really help the customer in so many different ways.
Yes, yeah, we try to anything they need kind of revolving around that scrap piece, the metal recycling side, we really try to provide it. They may call us tomorrow in Colorado and say, "Hey, we've got something we need help with," and we'll get up there by the next day and help. So
Oh,
at
yeah.
least get a game plan together. If not, go ahead and do the job. So
Yeah.
we really try to be responsive when they need something. We'll go.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, as competitive as it is, and I mean, you want to make sure that you are setting yourself apart as much as possible. And then your
Right.
customers know they can depend on you. You guys are reliable, and I mean, you're definitely doing everything you can to meet and exceed their needs. It sounds like.
Yes, and it becomes a true partnership with the customer. So we can call them and kind of troubleshoot things or talk through them. They call us and they know they can get a response pretty quickly. And so we really try to partner up with them and understand what their needs are, what maybe could help them operate a little more efficiently and better on their side. And we'll try to implement that and come up with a game plan to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because the partnerships in oil and gas seem to be so powerful when you're positioned correctly. When you have each other's best interest in mind, there's a lot that can get done when we all work together like that.
Yes. Yeah. And there's no reason not to, right?
Right.
And it just makes it easier on everybody. And we're very transparent with everything we do. And so we're not hiding anything about what we're doing. And so we'll just collectively come up with a game plan and execute on it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense because I mean in something like that I imagine there could be dropped communication or lack of communication because it's not any situation is going to be the same if you don't have that transparent conversation or like what when I saw the operation when the truck comes in and gets weighed, you see the amount and then it gets dumped and then you see the weight when it goes back out empty, pictures of the assets, pictures of everything that's coming through. So you always have that documentation and able to show your customer what's happening with their
yes,
assets and so that process I'm sure is very helpful to them because, like you said, they're focused more on the production side. Their business is not scrap. So you taking care of them after the fact, and then being able to get that certificate of destruction, to be able to receive that compensation for their scrap metal that would could just be dumped in the landfill. But being able to go a step further, they're going to be getting a check for all of it and they know they're getting taken care of and then all of this metal is going to get shipped down to Houston and processed and reused. So I mean it's a great business to be in. It's profitable and it's also helpful to the industry as well as the environment.
correct. Yes, it's really a focus industry wide, really, with the recycling industry because it's had a sometimes a negative connotation to it, and probably for good reason 20, 30 years ago. But it's really come around, and the industry as a whole is really trying to focus on green, right? And
Mhm.
without doing what we do, there's no new steel, and so it's very important in that supply chain circle that that recycling piece gets in there and able to get it to the steel mills to make new product.
So what happens when it goes to Houston? It's what's that process like?
So it doesn't all go to Houston, but it'll go to different steel mills kind of throughout Texas, Texas area and up into Arkansas some. But basically, we'll get it into a rail car. They'll ship it up to the steel mill. Our job is to process that material, segregate it, and get it to exactly how the steel mill wants it. So when that rail car arrives at the steel mill, all they have to do is unload it and get ready to throw it into their furnace to be remelted. So they're really relying on us to make sure we're doing our job, that we're not having anything in there that could either be dangerous or out of spec from a chemistry standpoint. And so that's really what we do at the yard, is focus in on making sure that we're not only helping provide on the front side to our customer, but getting it segregated so that when it goes to the steel mills, they're getting the product that they want.
Yeah, because that would slow down their processing time if you didn't.
Yes, and it could be dangerous at a steel mill. There's lots of explosions if a sealed container was to get into a load or anything like that, and so there's a lot of safety risk there, and we try to be very proactive and diligent on our side to make sure we're keeping everything out.
Well, and then like having the operations, your managers that have had so many years of experience, they know what they're doing. And so you can trust them that it's getting processed correctly and you're going to avoid a lot of those potential safety hazards.
Yes, that's correct. The other nice part is with those cameras, a lot of times we're able to identify something got thrown into the box that shouldn't have, and so we can kind of be proactive, make a phone call and ask them to get that out before it gets buried with more material on
Oh,
top
yeah.
of it. So it's really provide a lot of benefit that way as well.
Yeah, I could see that and just like a nice smooth process too, because the faster you can turn it around, the more uh, product there's going to be in the future and money to be made for all parties.
Right, exactly.
After the steel mill, where does it go?
So after the steel mill, they're gonna make whatever product they're making, and then it's gonna come back out to be resold, and so
So it's an absolute turnaround.
it is.
So it goes from, we'll say, a drilling company. They're filling up your boxes with the power ends and the fluid or the drill pipe and
Uh,
that they no longer need, that they've used. It can't get put back in service.
right,
So then it comes to your scrap yard. It gets processed, broken down because it has to be certain lengths.
correct,
And so you get all that ready. It ships down to Houston. It gets melted, refurbished, reprocessed, and then it's gonna come back into the market to sold as a new product.
correct.
Interesting process.
It is.
Yeah.
It is very
Yeah.
interesting.
I really love it because I mean, there's so much we can do with recycling instead of just throwing things away. And even on a small scale, like I recycle just as a consumer and then I take it down to one of the recycling places here in town, whether it's cardboard or plastic, and I appreciate being able to do that. It's not just going into a landfill and I'm being responsible with what I'm consuming or what I'm purchasing because it's easy to just throw an Amazon box in the dumpster.
Right,
But if you actually take them to the recycling center and they can be reprocessed and reused, we're cutting down on so much of that excess waste.
correct. Yes, excess waste, and even if it gets to the landfill and they're gonna try to segregate and recycle, you're just adding steps and cost
Yeah,
along the way, and so it
right.
just gets more and more expensive, so the more we do on our own to kinda take that personal responsibility, it's a benefit.
I think personal responsibility is really important in any industry, but especially in oil and gas, because it's such a free market of you can start a business, you can make it what you want it to be, but to be responsible and to want to contribute to the flow of of the industry and the success and making sure that we are efficient and we're all working together, it helps a lot
Right,
to be held accountable and to hold yourself to that standard, to wanna do that business and go above and beyond for your customers and really fine tune. Because, I mean, once you get that well-oiled machine, then you're in the process, and I know that, Ralph told me when I came into the yard, we discussed the trucks coming in, that when they call him from the road, instead of waiting until they get to the gate, it can save a lot of time on the trucks coming in and out. If he knows they're coming, the gate can already be open. Since it's not open to the general public, you're accommodating the
right,
commercial side, But to save all that time on the trucks, I mean, it's a matter of, 40, 50 seconds a truck, but that adds up. So to
Yes.
think on a level like that, that is in turn going to affect the entire process of it.
Correct, and it comes down to even those fine details, like you said, that, you just gotta kinda think through and really try to figure out the most efficient way, for everybody involved. But you're right, adding 50, 60 seconds, to each truck all day long,
Mhm.
it saves them time,
Well,
and
and it's the momentum too,
that's right.
because they can just drive right through the gate. They come on the scale, and then I mean, they dump, they turn around, and I mean, they're back on the road, and I mean, and they're getting paid per load as a driver, correct?
Correct.
And so that's important to them.
That's right.
And so now you're also taking care of the employees and making sure that they can go back out and make all the money that they're able to make. They're not having to sit at the gate, wait for someone to open it, and
Right.
they'd be losing a lot of time if they did that 4 or 5 times a day.
Correct. Yeah, and you're right, it's about the momentum, so
That I love the momentum of it, and when you have that kind of fluid process, so much more can happen. But you have to take into account, I mean, everything that could happen, like you said, the safety aspect, and with the different metals being combined, you have to be diligent on not combining anything that shouldn't be and making sure that it's separate. And so the safety aspect is very important, and keeping your employees safe, the mill workers safe, and being mindful of it overall. There's a lot of um, really fine details in all of this for it to be a safe, smooth, successful operation.
right, and you can't be complacent. It's easy to get complacent kinda doing the same thing day in and day out, and it's really another one that's a partnership with the customer, so helping them understand what's not allowed to be in a load, uh, helps it from getting in there from the beginning, then training at the yard, to make sure that we're also double checking that to make sure nothing's in there. So it's a process for sure. It's a good partnership with our customers. They're all very helpful, trying to identify those and get them out. Or if we call them and we see something in there, getting it out right away. But it's again something you can't let go for one day. So
Mhm.
every load you have to be able to inspect that because that could be the load. Maybe something got missed and got put in there.
Right.
So it's really trying to stay on top of that.
No, it seems like you guys are all doing a great job working together, and that you're all equally invested in the operation.
Yes,
And that's awesome to have that internally as your team.
it is. We've been very fortunate and very lucky to have the group that we've got.
Yeah. Well, when you value your employees too, and they know they're valued and they're invested, but they also are able to do their jobs on their own. Like you trust them, you know that they know what they're doing, and they're able to just come to work and take care of it. They're not having to deal with micromanaging, or being kind of I guess, like, not being able to execute their years of experience. You value the experience that your team has.
Yes, we do, and always ask for their input, or they just provide it. They're free enough
Yeah.
to just provide it,
Mhm.
what they think, and they've got sometimes in areas way more experience than what I've got, and so we listen to it, and we just kinda come up with a good game plan based on that. But you're right, it's invaluable having a group that just can come in, do what they need to do. There's no trust issues there. There's no concern if they're going to be out at a customer site that maybe something's not getting done correctly or how the customer wants because our guys know and they've done it for so long. They even will go out and help kind of go above and beyond on the safety side when they're out on site at a customer's place processing scrap. And I think the customers appreciate that too. So,
Right. Well, they know that when you show up on their location, they're taken care of. And that's huge because I mean the oil and gas industry, I mean there's so many different aspects to safety and complacency and the daily operation where you want to know that you can trust your people, that there's already hazards that could come just from general working conditions. And
right.
so when you have a third party come on your location, they need to be safe. They need to be compliant in what you're doing, but to know that they are going above and beyond, like you're not having to worry about your team. the customer's not having to worry about your team, and everybody can just continue working.
Correct.
And that's, I mean, that's invaluable for the industry to have not just your team working together, you and your customer, but all of us being able to coexist and work in harmony.
Yes, there's a other nice part is with any of our guys, knowledgeable and able to communicate with any executive, any yard manager or foreman, and they just know what they're doing, and so it's a big benefit.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that because even when I came on location, and I hadn't seen Scott yet, he was waiting on me, but he was preoccupied. He was busy doing something, and I mean, I just right away I was meeting your team and getting to see the location, and I mean, it wasn't anything to meet someone else that's a part of your team and to learn from them and hadn't even met them yet. And so that was pretty cool. And to be able to get everybody's take on their experience and the operation and the process of it all.
Yes, and they're always excited to share too, so,
Yeah, no, and
yeah.
I love that, and I definitely appreciate it, and I really like what you guys are doing, and it's so great for the oil field and the customer base out here to have that, to have such a high quality business too, not just a yard that you're taking everything to, but to have that level of a partnership is really refreshing. I feel like we're taking strides in the industry with how we're all working together, and when you are aligned with those same values and that same momentum and that same kind of sense of urgency to get the job done and get it done correctly, it sets you apart. And I feel like it moves our industry forward.
Right, well, thank you for those kind words. We really do, kinda put a lot of effort into that, and so, like I said, we've been fortunate, to kinda partner with the companies that we've already partnered with. They've been great to work with, and we just really wanna reach out and, you know, expand on that, and then also just keep providing more service and making sure we're meeting needs and figure out what their needs are, and then trying to put a plan together to make sure those happen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've definitely got it all in place. What would you say you're most excited for about the future?
I think it's just more growth. As more and more companies kind of learn about us and what we're doing and the different markets that we're in, I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to go out there and just help with new customer base. Um, we're always continuing to look for new technology that helps improve on what we're doing. So really, it is that it's the growth, but just targeted growth with companies that have that need someone to kind of help come alongside them, partner with them, make sure we're maximizing their value, um, and then working with them in any area that they're in.
That is, yeah, absolutely. I can see that because your operation is already, pretty well established, and so now you can just scale in that
Yes,
targeted market.
that's right.
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
great place to be.
It is. It's a good spot. We try to stay in our lane, and that industrial base is really what we do well, and so we really focus on making sure we're meeting the needs and the processes are in place. So you were able to see that the other day, but able to now just scale with that, and so it makes it really nice
Yeah, well, that's
and
nice
fun.
and fun. I would say it's very exciting because I mean, with the process being in place the way that it is, and you just, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity with that to just continue growing and getting more customers and getting to know the community.
Yes, yes. One of the big needs always is roll-off boxes for the accounts, and so you never really know, you don't wanna order too many, you don't wanna have a lot of just inventory sitting, but we've been very fortunate. We're pretty much constantly always have 30, 40 boxes on order, and as those come in, we order 30 or 40 more, and that we've been able to place them out, and so the response from the customer side has been very, encouraging.
I bet. And then it being nationwide and into Canada now, like you are expanding, that scale is already happening. And since it's already so organized, you can take on the volume.
Correct. Yes, and then even internally, efficiently, in their back office, they do a great job of keeping everything on track. If a customer calls and has a question about any location, our back office group is just does a really good job of making sure that everything's documented, that they have everything that's needed, and making sure we're providing that back to the customer. And so that does help and helps scale really for no matter what area of the country you're in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That efficiency and that level of communication in all departments is very very critical to be able to continue that growth and that level of
Yes.
success.
Yes, it is, and we're fortunate not just in the yard to have that, but throughout the office staff as well. Very well experienced, a lot of years in the business. They know not only know what they're doing, but they know what the customers need and are proactive in getting that for them. So rarely does a customer have to ask for something that we can't provide quickly. But if not, if we don't have it, they really work hard to get that for them.
Yeah, I have no doubt. It sounds like you guys are all on the same page, and I've really appreciated hearing everything about what you've got going on at Horizon Metals. It's a great service that you're providing for the oil field, the industry in general, all across the country, now into Canada. I thank you again for coming on today, Jeff. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You bet.